Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how easy it is to run a data power in Google Cloud. I'm sure everybody who's going through this video kind of understand that IBM has started offering data power as in a container, which means is you can run data power with Docker or with Kubernetes as well. So Kubernetes, which is more like a Docker orchestration tool that's developed by Google, but now pretty much available with a lot of other platforms as well. It's quite easy to run data power in a container world. And today's video is gonna focus a part of that. So let's just start. So you could easily see on my screen here, I am using Google Cloud Platform, and it sort of reflects that I do have some credit available. So those who don't know, Google Cloud offers $300, to start and play around and learn Google Cloud. So I've been using that credit a lot. I mean, again, I learn something, I start something, I create container, I create VMs, and then I delete those VMs. So again, I don't use too much money in one go, but it's working well for me, and I guess I say you guys should try that as well. So let's just get into the real world. So the very first thing we need to do is when we start doing using containers with Google is Google has this idea of calling container clusters. So let's just create a quick Google Cloud cluster. Uh, I've just for reference I have taken some commands. It's cluster create, and I'm going to call it data power cluster. So what it's going to do now is it's actually going to start creating. Wait a second, I think I'm just done something wrong. It says uh, Google Cloud has this another property which is called zone. Zone is pretty much tells Google is what data center you wanna run your container. So Google has number of zones or number of data centers, which they call it zones. What Google want before you run any command or any before you create any VM or create any container, they want to understand where do you want to do that. So let's just start setting a container that I'm interested in. So you can have Google Cloud uh, um, config set compute zone, and let's see if it just give me any option. Nope. So I guess I need to have list of zones. Um, get zones. No. G-Cloud. Compute. And I'm just trying to find a command to actually get the zones. Yeah, compute zones. And list. So, sorry, it took me a little bit of time to get to the right command, but if you say, there is a command called gcloud compute zones list, and it lists on all the zones that you can use to create your container. So I always sort of use this one, which I think reflects a data center in Japan. So let's just quickly set the value. What I've done is I'm just gonna set it. Boom. So it's my cloud zone has been set now. Now I'm gonna try to run the command again. So gcloud container cluster create DataPower. So it's just creating a DataPower cluster. And let's see how it reacts. Beautiful. So it has started creating a cluster now. Again, this cluster probably take, I would say, 5 to 10 minutes. I've never sort of uh, uh, took note of that, but it takes a bit longer. So don't worry, I do have a plan to, while Google is going to create a cluster, and I'm going to show you what it means by a cluster once it's been created. But let's just talk about what I'm going to do next, right? So once we done with creating a cluster in Google Cloud, the next thing we will probably want to do is straight away is to start deploying a DataPower image into a cluster. Now there's multiple ways you can do that, but yeah, in this tutorial, in this video, we're gonna use Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is a is a is a is a tool available in Google Cloud. Again, definitely in Google Cloud because it's been built by Google and it's open source now. So that means there are a lot of other cloud platforms, include pretty much I think AWS and Azure. Everybody has included Kubernetes as an offering. What it allows us to do is it allows us to manage Docker in a in a more developer friendly way, I guess. Is so it manages uh, things like how many Docker instances you want to run at one point of time. It also understands when an instance is down for some reason, it can immediately bring another one up. And things like that. So it's also known as container orchestration tool. I don't want to get into too much of detail about that because there's heaps of material that you can learn from. But let's just jump into okay, what with Kubernetes. So what with Kubernetes, I'm going to start creating what we call pods. Pod is the smallest deployable unit in under Kubernetes. Uh, you know, uh, Joule or Kubernetes word, right? And then one port is installed. The next thing I'm going to install is a service, and the service is pretty much is a thinking where we're gonna expose those boards, those data per boards, over the internet, right? So, and let's just jump into the stuff, and then you're gonna understand a little bit more about that. So what I've done is I actually have a sorry, I have a uh, on my GitHub I've created sort of a repo which has got the required files that you need to use. So then let's just jump into the parts first, right? And there's a file called DataPower pods YAML, and that's the you could see it's just like 18 lines, and that's the file I'm going to um, use to tell my Kubernetes that okay, they need to create a pod, right? And the Docker image they need to pick uh, from standard Docker repo, um, with which with under the IBM COM umbrella. There's a data pod later. So if you don't know about what it means is Docker as a company they have their own big repo of Docker images, and IBM is pushing all of their software images, including DataPower, API, like MQ, IIB, all of that under IBM COM umbrella. So that's where I'm going to put. And latest is pretty much saying is just pick the latest version available uh, in that repo. There's a couple of environment variables as well that we need to pass. Again, they are more from very specific about data power. I think the first one is talking about when you're running the image, you're accepting the license, and the second one's talking about data power interactive. And I think interactive is required because that's the way it sort of enables uh, you know the a flag in data power by which it's gonna allow you to interact with the command line, and you need to have access to command line because that's the only way you can enable the web management, right? So people who know data power, it's quite easy to understand, right? So and the next thing once the pods are created, the next thing we need to create is a service. And service is a very interesting concept because that's where we do a bit of the network thinking. Right? So services is all about creating, and and there are different type of services, and in this instance I'm creating uh, you know a load balancer, right, type of service, uh, to allow an external network connection going to my data power instance running in Google Cloud. So let me just sort of rephrase that in a probably in a simple way is you deploy data power in Google Cloud, and that's what we call pods. But the problem is you can't access those pods because it's still running into Google Cloud, and not available on an IP address that is accessible from outside world. With services, I'm saying let's just create a load balancer, and the load balancer, which gonna talk to in front of your pods, which is like your data power uh, instances, and with an IP address which is accessible from outside world, and open these ports. So 80, 1990s, the 1990s web management port, 80 if you want to use for any other purpose, 8000 and 8001, and this way you can have any number of list. You can add actually you can add more ports later as well, so you need not to worry about that. But that's just to start with, So, what do you think? How many ports you want to open in the beginning, and once you create, deploy the service again through Kubernetes. What Kubernetes does, again, it's because it manages the whole Docker engine for you in Google Cloud. It's actually going to do it's going to configure everything automatically. Gonna assign you going to work with Google Cloud to get you a good external IP address. Going to open all these ports, and the most important thing is definitely it's going to manage your bots as well. So let's just jump back to another one. So you could see my data park cluster has been created in this zone. It says the number of nodes is 3, and state is running. Now it's quite interesting, and let's just have a quick look what it means. If you go to container engines right here, you could see I've got a cluster which says the cluster size is 3, and it essentially means is that 3 VMs running behind the scene to supporting this cluster. To understand a little bit more about that, if you go to compute engine right here, you go to VM instances, and you can see that 3 different VMs has been created. This one I had it before, so don't worry about that. But right now these 3 different VMs, each one has got these internal IP addresses and external IP addresses as well. But again, you need one IP address, and that's where my the services with the load balancer probably is going to help, because the load balancer is going to sit in front of all these 3 VMs, where we're going to deploy data power, and it's gonna distribute the load, right? So let's start quickly. So my data power has been installed. I'm sorry, my cluster has been created, and now what I'm going to do is quickly coming back to my G-Cloud shell. I'm just going to clear this. I'm going to check if I have a directory. Yeah, no. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to git clone. I'm going to clone this directory. So if I go back to DataPower Gateway, clone, copy, right here, hey, boom, done. If you're going to see now, you got our DataPower directories right there. I also DataPower Docker. The next thing is you're going to start creating pods, right? So I'm going to start creating a pod. So gcloud create -f, and I'm going to say pod, DataPower pod, so yeah, right. So let's just do it. Ooh, okay, no, I think I have to do gcloud. Oh no, sorry, it's Kubernetes. So Kubernetes has a Kubernetes control create minus F. Let's just do it. And what's going to do is it's going to start creating pods for us. So it's going to deploy based on the instruction in the YAML file. It's going to deploy the data pod image into the pods. Now, if you're going to go and check, say get pod, you could see there is one pod which is container creating. So is right now is creating all those containers, because what you have just done before you run this statement is you created a cluster which a cluster has set of VMs, but you never deployed you never deployed a Docker instance at all. So what it's doing now is with this instruction, Kubernetes is actually using that cluster that you just created and deploying the DataPower image, the Docker image, um, you know, into the cluster, which means each of these VMs probably gonna get will be running our DataPower image. So it's probably gonna take a little bit of time. Let's just see. Now it's running. So boom, your DataPower is already running. Now again, the problem is you don't know how to access it. So that's where you need to start creating a service. So I'm gonna quickly create Kubernetes create minus F services DataPower services YAML. Now, what service this has done is now is because your pod is running, and if I go back to my actual file here, because your pod is running, the service is actually gonna inside this it refers the DataPower pods, right? So if you go back to this one, you could see your pod name is DataPower. So this name should match this selector name. So it's matching those names. And what it's doing is in front of those pods, it's creating a load balancer now. And then with those load balancers, it's going to start. It's going to open all these ports as well. So if you go back and get services, you could say it is there is a DataPower service where it has a cluster IP, but that's again not available outside. It's more for internal communication within the cloud. But then it has all these ports ready, but it hasn't got a external IP yet. So what Google Cloud does or Kubernetes does it works with the you know I think if I'm right, so it works with the Google Cloud network. I don't know, maybe network agents and work out an external IP address that I can use. Boom. So you could see there is an external IP address right here. But right now, if you try this one, HTTPS 1990, this is not available. And I guess you're probably surprised. Oh, so what's next now? I mean, people who work with DataPower, they understand 1990 is a web management board, and by default, DataPower does not enable web management. So let's just quickly enable web management as well. So what Kubernetes allows you to do is with Kubernetes, you can actually attach the standard input-output, which is the command line, the DataPower command line with your Cloud Shell machine. So there's a command for that, and which I'm going to run here. Let's say is this one, which says Kubernetes attach. Again, that's your pod name, and send it in TTY. So let's just do it. Cool. So you could say that's my data pod. Boom, IDG is my IBM DataPower Gateway. I get into my config mode, and now I'm going to say web GMT 1990 successfully started. So you could say he's going to start the thing, and I'm going to say write memory. Oops. Yes, I want to save it. So now what it means is now I have saved it. So my web management has started. Now if I go back right here and try this again, beautiful. You can see like it says Safari can verify. That's fine because it's used a self-found certificate. So I can say continue. You can say just say IBM DataPower login DataPower, and here it is. Boom. So your DataPower is ready to run in cloud. You have all the things. You can pretty much do everything that you normally do with DataPower, create domains and deployment services. The only thing you have to remember is because you have only opened 3 other ports, which is 80, 80, 80, and 80, 81. Those are the only ports you could deploy in NPG or any other service and can access from outside. If you need to have more ports, you need to add more of those through Google Cloud Console, which I'm probably going to explain you in the later video. So hopefully you enjoy this video. Please do not hesitate if you have any questions. I'll be writing my email. So my email is down below in the comment section. So enjoy, guys. Thank you.